It's safe to say that Robert De Niro has paid his dues in the industry. While his early career work as Vito Corleone in Godfather Part 2, Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver, and Jake LaMotta in Raging Bull cemented him as one of the most acclaimed and versatile actors on the planet, they were roles that didn't get paid very well. For example, he only earned $35,000 for his role in Taxi Driver, well I say only. As a result, there's nothing wrong in principle with him now cashing in audience goodwill for cold hard box office cash, such as him commanding $20 million salaries for comedies like Analyze That or Meet the Parents. But does he really need that money now for movies like Las Vegas, The Intern, or Dirty Grandpa, where he plays a widower hoping to find a new lease on life? He owns dozens of restaurants and hotel chains across the world, and even a film production company, Tribeca Productions. Robert De Niro's net worth is an estimated $150 million. On the flip side, money is pretty sweet, so he's teaming up with Zac Efron, who is making a name for himself in comedies with Bad Neighbours and the upcoming Disaster Artist, but is still not quite that box office draw he should be. But how raunchy and how low do either star have to go, and is the paycheck quite worth it? Jason Kelly is a young up-and-coming lawyer working at his dad's firm and is getting ready to marry his girlfriend Meredith Goldstein, but his grandfather, Richard Dick Kelly, has just attended his late wife's funeral and would like to uphold their marital tradition of travelling to Florida every year and needs Jason to drive him since his license has been revoked. However, on their trip, Dick reveals his true agenda, to have as much sex as possible, and he's set his sights on college student Lenore, who is more than willing. But will Dick's escapades drag Jason down, or will his potential new romance with an old friend Shadia set him on a new, better life path? Now, if you look at the actual plot itself, you have two elements that don't really seem to gel. We have a two-pronged narrative of Jason trying to not be too uptight to find a better life than the one he's currently got, and we also have Dick, who is trying to get laid and show his son how to have a good time. The issue with both of these in Dirty Grandpa is that we're given very little context to the setup of the story, and what context we do get is dubious at best. First, the movie does a pretty poor job at establishing Jason and Dick's relationship with each other prior to the events of the film. The characters say that the two used to be pretty close, but if that's the case, then why does Jason act so surprised at his grandfather's actions over the course of the film? Shouldn't he already know him? The audience are also led to believe that Jason's wife-to-be, Meredith, is a bad influence on him and that it's an unhappy relationship, but we only have Dick's word for that, and since Dick has a known track record for lying throughout the film, he's not exactly a reliable source. They do try to make it quote-unquote okay later on that Jason is chasing a relationship with someone else before he's due to be married, but it comes right out of nowhere and feels like it was done as a justification for an affair that doesn't feel believable. That's the main issue with Dirty Grandpa, if you don't take into account subjective opinion and personal taste in humour. The situations dictate the characters don't dictate the situation. You can see the gears in motion behind the scenes engineering the set pieces. They don't feel organic to a story that relies too much on coincidence. That wouldn't be such an issue if the conflict was interesting and sympathetic, but the storytelling isn't competent enough. For example, Jason is actually quite happy where he is by his own admittance. He likes working as a lawyer, and while he used to be a photographer, he's chosen another career, but Dick is adamant that he should be a photographer, and is seeking to change his grandson despite him being content where he is. But because the audience has no context, then it makes Dick come across as more unlikable than the writers probably intended. However, what kind of holds Dirty Grandpa together is the chemistry between Robert De Niro and Zac Efron. After Las Vegas and The Intern, it would seem that De Niro has a monopoly on playing widowers in comedies, which is strange, but it's a role he can clearly do well, and Zac Efron actually makes a good straight guy to the shenanigans at play. The veteran actor and the up-and-coming young star do work well with each other, and a lot of the laughs can be found in De Niro's comedic timing, not necessarily in the jokes themselves, because while I did find myself laughing quite a bit during Dirty Grandpa, a week after seeing the movie, I couldn't quote anything back to you, with the exception of Dick comparing Jason's cock-blocking abilities to the Terminator. That got a big laugh from me. There is a novelty to seeing the two-time Oscar winner Robert De Niro sleep naked, try to sleep with a college student, rap at an open mic and spout out creative insults, but that humour gets repetitive after a while, and since we never saw what Dick was like before the death of his wife, there's no change in his character, and it's one note all the way through. De Niro's not exactly sleepwalking through the role, but there's really not much here. The same can be said for the rest of the cast, with Zoe Dutch playing a photographer hippie who hangs out with generally terrible people, and she's meant to be the love interest. Jason Mantzoukas is just insufferably grating, and Aubrey Plaza is actually pretty good, and she's naturally funny in anything she's in, so I'll give her a pass there, even though the ultimate punchline with her character really doesn't land. One punchline is even flat out missing from the movie, where Dick gives a student a laxative to win a drinking contest, and it doesn't go anywhere. Honestly, with Dirty Grandpa, all you can really do is watch the trailer, and if it's your brand of humour, then I can honestly recommend the movie. As a comedy, I did have a few laughs, but found the movie to have absolutely no staying power, and to be morally confused. The movie treats Jason wanting to have an affair with some hippie the audience barely knows because his wife is too uptight to be okay, even though their wedding is next week and his wife-to-be is naturally nervous. The movie treats Dick's influence on Jason as being for the best, even though Jason says he was happy before. When these narrative lapses in judgment pile up, they start to detract from the laughs because you're thinking about the movie's internal logic too much, or maybe that's just me overthinking again. In terms of production values, Dirty Grandpa is alright. Some of the editing is shoddy as the filmmakers include multiple different takes of the same scene in order to get the funniest bits, but the cuts are obvious. Aside from that, however, it's a decent looking film. The locations look good as Daytona Beach actually looks like a fun place to visit. De Niro and Efron look darn good in suits together, even though the movie tries way too hard to get Efron to wear embarrassing stupid items of clothing, and the music is mainly comprised of current pop songs and dance tracks, which regular listeners of mine will know is the bane of my existence. It's a passable comedy production, basically. So, after all of that, here's my conclusion. Those looking for guilt-filled, raunchy laughs will find them here and will probably have a good time, or at least be privy to a mindless distraction. Robert De Niro and Zac Efron do make for a decent pairing, but they're given pretty flat and insubstantial characters, which are being thrown around from set piece to set piece with very haphazard connective tissue. The movie's message feels rather tone-deaf, the supporting cast range from flat to annoying, there's very little staying power or moments worth quoting, and it's not quite as offensive or as provocative as the movie's marketing campaign would have you believe. There have definitely been worse comedies over the past year, but Dirty Grandpa just offers very little in comparison. I give Dirty Grandpa 2 stars out of 5.
Oh, so that's what this is all about. You wanted me to drive you down to Boca so I could be your wingman.
I haven't had sex in 15 years, and I want to fuck.
I'm gonna throw up.
Hey folks, thanks for listening to my review. You can find these reviews a day early on my website, so be sure to visit www.trilbee.com regularly, where you can find a written version. I'm just experimenting with a new format, so let me know if you like these audio reviews to complement the written ones. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. But more importantly, what did you think of the film? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe for more movie-related analysis. Please hit that like button as it really helps me out, and you can support my content through Patreon for exclusive perks and rewards and updates. I'll see you folks next time.